I was at my Tuesday morning men's group last week, and one of the guys there is a doctor, and he talked about that there's an increased incidence they're seeing of children with broken bones that they may be from abuse, like 3 a day as opposed to 3 every 2 weeks. Really hit me hard that, imagine being a kid cooped up at home where you have to worry about abuse and not able to go to church or to school. So I decided to try to find out, what we could do to help and then share it with others that might be interested in helping. I happen to be a volunteer board member at the Judson Center. We provide child-safe services to help kids like this. And with me is Khadija Walker-Fobbs Center, and she's the expert in this arena. So, Khadija, what do you want to tell us about this?
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you, Brad, for bringing to light such a crucial issue that we all need to be aware of and the eyes and ears of. As Brad said, I'm Khadija Walker-Fobbs, and I'm the Chief Strategy Officer with the Judson Center. And our child and family departments are under me, so that includes family preservation, foster care, adoption, and also mentoring services. So I'm really happy to have this opportunity to just chat through some of the things that we're seeing and signs and symptoms to look for in abuse. With schools being closed during the COVID-19 crisis and with faith-based institutions not running activities, the eyes and ears that are usually watching children and reporting abuse to our child protective services are not in effect. And so because of that, we've seen a drastic reduction in calls and reports that have come out to child protective services reporting abuse. But we know that abuse is happening. We know that this is a high stress time for people, and data tells us that when economic hardship arises and high stress situations happen, the rates of abuse do increase for children. So it's up to us to be the eyes and ears in our backyard and in our community and know what to look for so that we can help be part of the solution in supporting families and protecting our children.
Well, that's great, Khadija. And Khadija put together a little PowerPoint presentation so that we can look while we talk. I just need to do the screen sharing here on that. Where is it?
Maybe as Brad's pulling up the screen, I can just talk through a little bit about what types of things categorize as abuse and would qualify for what we need to watch for in terms of symptoms that need to be reported. And so as he's sharing the screen, one of the things that we want to talk about is really defining what child abuse and neglect is. And what that is it's when a parent or a caretaker is failing to act and care for a child, and this could include physical harm, emotional harm, sexual abuse, exploitation, or just the failure to protect their child. And so those are things that we need to be watching for that should be reported if we're seeing something that's concerning where we think a child is at risk.
So it really is a matter, we talk about this happening in other areas, but this can be happening right next door to me or right next door to you. So it's really a matter of keeping an eye out, staying vigilant with the kids that are in your neighborhood, in your community, or church, what have you, that you come into contact with.
Absolutely. It's truly a village that, is required to protect and care for children, and that's always been the case. And so you're right, in any backyard, not specific to one region or area. Oakland County, Macomb County, Wayne County has very, very significant rates of children who enter into the foster care system. So we have that responsibility to be those eyes and ears. By the Michigan state law, abuse is defined, as I said, by physical, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, or neglect. And some of those signs and symptoms that we can be looking for as a community on a child would be maybe some sudden changes in child's performance in school, sudden behavior changes. We might want to watch to see if we're noticing that the child is reluctant to be around a certain person, seems maybe scared or frightened. We would also want to be looking for if an adult seems overly passive or withdrawn, not interested in the situation around their children that most parents in terms of safety. We would also want to be looking to see if a child has certain issues with concentrating in school, showing bruises or demonstrating something that just seems out of place. We need to be the eyes and ears, as we were saying. I think the next slide talks a little bit about what physical abuse looks like and how that manifests. And so with children who are really experiencing physical abuse at home, not only would they demonstrate bruises, maybe black eyes, but also those children are often aggressive. They might be the children that are manifesting behavior issues, maybe the bullies in a classroom or a school, because they're experiencing abuse at home. That in turn is manifesting itself when they act out and want to harm others. It also might show up in terms of a child not wanting to eat and losing a lot of weight, being depressed. They might be very nervous around adults in general. That would be a sign and symptom that we need to look out for in terms of recognizing potential physical abuse that is happening to that child.
That's what hit me when I started digging into this, and when Khadija started explaining this to me, was that, you know, the kids that I think of as behaving badly or bad kids are many times kids who have experienced this, and that's what's causing them to act out. Which for me was a bit of a shock.
That's right, Brad. Thank you for bringing that point up. I always say, and this is a common philosophy in the human services field, that there's no bad children. It's a matter of asking the question of what's happened to that child, because children are behaving badly and there's a manifestation of behaviors. It's because something is happening to that child that's triggering those behaviors. And that is certainly a sign and something we need to be looking for and aware of as adults. A sign of neglect in a child would be items and things like they're frequently absent from school. Maybe they're begging or stealing money or stealing lunches or food. You maybe have all heard stories of those children who are stealing other kids' lunches to eat. A child might manifest a lack of medical care. They might have really poor hygiene and smell poorly. Maybe they don't have proper clothing for the climate and the weather. You know, those children who go out maybe in a t-shirt, but it's wintertime, don't have a coat, or they don't have proper clothing. Those would be things to look out for in terms of neglect. You know, if a child is at home or left at home and they're underage, you know, that would also be a type of thing that we would want to be looking for in our communities and our neighborhoods.
How about sexual abuse? This one's hard for me to even fathom.
It's very hard to phantom this, and it's hard to sometimes acknowledge those things that are a suspicion to us if we notice something is out of line. And so things that we would want to look for with a child who might be experiencing sexual abuse would be that they're having difficulty walking or sitting. They might have bedwetting continuously and reporting nightmares, being scared of the dark. Not the normal child being scared of the dark, but something that's extreme where there's maybe screaming and they don't want to go to bed. They don't want to be left alone at night. We would also want to look for things like bizarre, sophisticated sexual knowledge that a child of that age should not be aware of or should not have knowledge of. We would want to be watching for things as a child who has become pregnant or has an STD at a young age, when we know that is just out of line. We also would want to look for the child reporting sexual abuse of a parent or an adult caregiver. We need to make sure we're listening to children when they come to us in confidence. If they're saying that something is not right at home, really listening to that, and even if it makes us uncomfortable, taking those things seriously and taking the proper actions to report something that is off base.
And then there's trauma. You know, I know trauma-informed care is a big thing. There's a lot of study that's been done about the effects of trauma on adults, let alone the effects of trauma on kids today.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of science and progress that's been made around recognizing trauma in children and adults, but also recognizing what traumatic events really are defined in changing the way child behavior happens, child brain development happens. And so when a child is experiencing abuse, it is absolutely every category of trauma. And that's going to affect development. It's going to affect how they relate to their world, relate to others socially. And so behavior, mood regulation, physical development of a child, cognitive development of a child, the way they are attached or maybe not attached, all of that are symptoms of experiencing trauma as a child, and will continue to manifest itself in different ways. Often when a child is traumatized in some way, maybe they have been abused or maybe they've been removed because of foster care. Once again, you see those manifestations of behaviors, whether it's flight, whether it's fight. Children respond to trauma, and that trauma needs to be acknowledged and treated.
So, my question was, how can I help? Now, I've been on the board at Judson for 18 years, and I don't want to think about the hours I've spent or the money I've spent. But somehow even that seems like not enough when I think about these kids. So, there's a number of ways you can help here. There's a toll-free number here at the top that you can call. And who's that number for, Khadija?
Number would go to the Child Protective Services at the state. So if you do suspect any type of abuse or neglect of a child that you have interactions with, that would be the number to call and make that report to.
Great, thanks. And then obviously help support the families. A lot of times people are having problems themselves. They're going through trauma themselves. They have poverty issues. They don't want to say they've got money issues, but those stresses are what's causing the problem with the kids.
Right.
Another thing is become a mentor to a child if you want to get more directly involved. Our Child Safe foster care program provides mentoring to kids. So in addition to giving them a home, we work with through a mentor to help that child to learn and to develop and be influenced, through yet another healthy adult relationship. What about a licensed respite home, Khadija? What is that?
So licensed respite home is when somebody is willing to go through the process of, which is the same thing that somebody who is a foster parent would go through in terms of checking the home, the safety, making sure all of the background checks are in place. But maybe that family doesn't want to foster full time. They're just saying, hey, our house is open to provide a respite or a break for those who are fostering. And so basically those homes are just providers who will take a child maybe for a week while a family gets a needed vacation, or maybe that family is fostering and they have another child that they want to go to camp with or do something with. And this allows families to be able to take advantage of respite or respite care, which is providing a break for them. And that's really essential.
Yeah. So, sorry, I just checked out for a minute. Did you say something about a licensed foster home too? Did you cover that?
Yes, we are always in desperate need statewide for families who are willing to become licensed foster homes and open up their hearts and their homes to take care of children who have been removed to foster care. And so we are in desperate need, especially in the Metro Detroit area, for homes to go through the process of becoming licensed and work in partnership with us to care for these deserving and needing children. And so I just welcome anybody who is interested in more information on becoming a licensed foster parent to please contact us and reach out to us. Our email address is on this Zoom call. We have a direct email and a phone number to call to get more information and just ask questions of our foster care navigator who could walk people through and just answer questions they might have.
Yeah, and of course, another way that you could help is by donating to an organization that cares for kids like the Judson Center. And if you're interested in the Judson Center, it's judsoncenter.org. Or you can contact Khadija. How can people contact you?
Yes, absolutely. So I can be contacted by calling Judson's main number, which would be 248-837-2104. I can be contacted by email, and my name is a little tricky to spell, but I will spell that for people. It's KHADIJA_ my last name Walker -Fobbs, Fobbs, and then it's at thejudsoncenter.org. If you call the Judson Center main line, somebody certainly will make sure to put you through and get in contact with me.